Those are James's kabobs. We're going to be talking about the heavy water war, or well, James will. That's my salad, and James's is pretty much the same. He has the feta on and the vegan feta around the sides and some cucumber and stuff. But
looks healthy.
Yeah.
Looks tasty.
He has the regular feta on there too, but I cheaped out on the regular feta by putting cauliflower. I think it's a great idea. You just cut the cauliflower. Some of the pieces I didn't cut up that little, but if you cut up the cauliflower really little, then you can cheap out on feta. So this is my outfit for today, and I'm wearing it because I went for my first mammogram. And it actually wasn't painful.
Good.
At all.
Good.
It was the woman, I guess the technician who does that, she did a very good job. She was very gentle, and yeah, I was really worried about getting it done.
First time you've ever had one.
Like I was thinking that it would be, it'd be painful, and it'd squish the boob out really thin, right, like a pancake, and it really didn't seem to do that. But I learned that my breasts are extremely dense. So
she gets the pleasure of going through it again.
Yeah, well, basically I'm going to do another test now, because they recommend for people who are either a C or a D, like either for density, and mine is a D. It's very dense, extremely dense. So they recommend another test, and I guess it's some sort of maybe it's an ultrasound of some sort, or something like that. So that I got booked off way down the road, because the soonest they could get me in was October something. So that's that. So I don't have to worry about that for a while. And honestly, I was very concerned about getting a mammogram. Like, I put this off for a long time because I thought, well, there's not much there. Surely I would notice if there was something wrong, because like I could understand if somebody has a boob like this big, then they probably wouldn't be able to feel a lump that's way back here, right? And my boob being extremely dense, it feels they feel firm anyway, so I don't feel any extra like rock things in there or whatever. They feel like they have always felt, I think. So, but maybe I wouldn't know because they're extremely dense, so maybe there could be something in there. So who knows?
Got to go through it second time.
Different test. But we'll see how that goes. So really, I was thinking this is not a good test. Like I've thought about, I am not a fan of going in for the pap tests either. Because I think, well, they're literally scraping cells. They're injuring the area, the cervix, and with the pap test. And I think, well, especially if you look at James's nose, injury, and then cancer, right? And the cancer, and then injury.
Of course, this was just pretty well daily for years.
And plus, apparently there's a relationship, I just learned today too, between colon cancer and breast cancer. Who would think that those things would be related? But apparently, if you have somebody in your family that has colon cancer, you might worry about the breast cancer. Yeah. So, who knew?
Not to worry.
But I don't have anybody in the family with colon cancer or breast cancer.
Be concerned.
So
go through screening.
I guess so, but I don't know. Honestly, I've been thinking this whole time, why should I go through this screening? I don't have anybody in my family who has these things. And plus, why risk injuring the area, and then maybe that would cause cancer of the area. Just
hard to say.
Yeah. So anyway, but anyway, I got it done, and it really wasn't painful, and the woman was wonderful. She was very gentle and everything like that. So I have no complaints about it. Honestly, I'm gonna talk about Mork and Mindy and Sibyl while James is eating his kabobs, because honestly, flies love mushrooms. So
Well,
I don't want to give them. They're not here
really
right now,
No,
but
they aren't.
which is weird
Well,
because
what's happened?
yesterday they were here,
I
and
think
I've
it's
just
the
been
wind.
thinking, well, oh, maybe so. Maybe we're saved by a slight breeze today. Anyway, Sibyl, this got bottom of the stack, and man, this took me 4 tries to watch this. I had to do it in
Yikes.
4 installments, and it's just a movie. It's basically regular length, 101 minutes, and I had to read subtitles for it, which I don't appreciate. Because it better be a really good movie if I'm gonna have to sit there and read subtitles, because then I can't be multitasking.
Yeah.
Which that's what I do. When I watch TV, I'll be making sauerkraut. Squeeze, 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 massage, massage, getting that done. Or whatever, right? I'll be doing something else. And so couldn't. So I had to do this in 4 installments, sitting there reading, and it says, a sly, sexy, and beautifully acted comic thriller on the front, and somebody gives it 5 stars. I don't know what that's out of, maybe 50, because it is not good, and it's not. I don't think this Los Angeles Times giving it that blurb of sly, sexy, and beautifully acted comic thriller. I don't think they watched the movie, because there's nothing comic about it or thriller, nothing.
Well,
it's just a boring drama.
The Los Angeles Times has taken it right when you're scared to be silly. I wouldn't trust the word they say.
Yeah. On the back, Guy Lodge Variety, which I haven't even heard that. I don't know what that is, but they gave a blurb, a chic, blackly comic psychodrama. Oh. And I don't believe that they've watched the movie either, because it's not those things. It's just boring. It's just a boring drama that nobody would want to watch. So.
Well, there we go, folks.
And you have to read subtitles to figure that out. So, anyway, Mork and Mindy. This is disc 3 of season 1, which we watched yesterday, and I am saving Mork and Mindy to watch with James all the time, because it is way better to watch with James than alone, somehow. So, I mean, it always helps, right? Laughter is contagious, and like those, I guess there's a lot of feelings that are contagious. Like people yawn, and somebody else yawns, and dog yawns, we don't yawn too, or whatever. It's like it crosses to different species, these contagious things. But,
panic,
when
mob rage.
Sure, yeah, all of
good ones.
There are a lot of different feelings that are somehow contagious. It's strange, but is it? I mean, maybe that's the way we should be. If one person is frightened, it would be silly if other people didn't naturally get frightened, right? Like it's good that we're designed that way. So anyway,
when you park in some place, people park around you like flies. You can park the far end of the parking
cluster
lot.
parking.
Yeah, that's why
I don't know if it's related to that, but anyway.
Sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's not so nice.
Yeah.
So if you see my vehicle, don't park around me, please. And whatever you do,
we park
way
out so that nobody will. And I walk the extra distance, because why not? I like walking for exercise anyway. So it's not that I like this dress. I got this dress because it has elephants on it, and so when I saw it, it reminded me of my sister, because she likes elephants. So silly, isn't it?
No, I like elephants too.
Okay. So anyway, now this is for you if you want, because I can't say anything about it.
I thought she was going to say I couldn't stand it. I can't stand it, but
no,
I watched it up.
No, I sat through like maybe 10 minutes in total of the whole thing, and it's in several parts.
6 different parts, is there?
3
a
discs.
piece on 3 discs.
Yeah.
6 also. It's pretty well done.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you it's in Norwegian.
And English. They don't even mention the German that's in it.
Because for the little bit that I did sit through, there were subtitles.
Either my knowledge of Norwegian is just awesome, considering the amount of time I've spent at it, or there was a lot of German. So they had German flunkies like Werner Heisenberg, and I don't know how you say his name, Weizsäcker. And there was another scumbag German physicist, rapping with each other, with other people. And I'm pretty sure it was in German. But it was pretty well done. It was done in Sweden, apparently. And it's hilarious. I think I've seen this happen once before, where the Swedes are kind of trading in on the gung-ho attitude of the Norwegians when it came to dealing with the Nazis. So I guess the Swedes are feeling a little bit of something like envy or something like that. The Swedish role in World War II was absolutely shameful, shamelessly shameful. There was worse, of course. There were allies of the Nazis, like the Italians under Mussolini, and I believe the Hungarians eventually joined up in the Satanic Crusade, and as did the Romanians. Some Spaniards joined up. I don't think they officially declared war on Russia. I think they had a battalion or two fighting in Russia against the communists. And, well, as far as the phalangists are concerned, they were not just small potatoes by comparison to the Russians, but meek and mild. Sorry to have to say this, but they're communists, Russian communists. And frankly, I think the fascisti from Italy, they're different from they call them fascists, and I guess I was in Spain, but they were phalangists. They're different. They portrayed themselves as crusaders. The fascists were in Italy were interested in reviving the Roman Empire. It was very different. It was kind of like secular. And they were very different from the Nazis. The Nazis were nostalgists in their own right, but they were looking at, I'd say the phalangists were looking at reviving medieval culture in Spain.
Oh, you bet.
Combined with nationalism. With the fascists in Italy, they were looking to combine classical culture with nationalism. With the Nazis, it was pre-medieval and pre-classical, because there really wasn't any classical culture in Germany to speak of, but it was like harking back to things like Norse mythology. Really, German mythology is, in essence, the same thing as Norse mythology or Scandinavian mythology. Am I making it up? No. Odin was called Wotan by the Germans. Still is. And really, English culture was originally English people, Germanic people. They had a god they called Wotan. So Odin, Wotan. Now you might not hear the similarity, and that means you just haven't been exposed to languages and/or linguistics and that. They're basically, in essence, the same god, the All-Father of the gods. In Norse mythology, Asgard, where the gods lived, it was Ashyard or Ashport or something like that, way up in the heights of the World Tree, which is an ash tree. I don't think they had many oaks, but amongst the Germans, the World Tree was an oak. Probably the same thing in English. So, the English had Thor. Thor just means thunder. I believe the English called Thor something like Thunor. I believe the Germans just called them Donner, as in Donner and Blitzen.
Donner, like thunder.
Thunder, exactly right. As I was saying, Thor, from what I can tell, back in the day meant thunder. So we name in English, the English tradition. We share the English tradition. There may not be much English. I have got a little bit of English blood. A lot of people share the English tradition. They've got no English blood. We've named a day of the week after Woden, or Odin, Woden, and it's called Wednesday. We named a day after a week after Thor, or Thunor, and that's Thursday. So, where was I going? I get so fascinated about linguistics.
But you're talking about the heavy water war.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway, I was talking about, like getting things straight, like where people are calling the Nazis fascists and the Phalangists in Spain fascists. They were very different. Yeah, they were alive for a while. Very different. The fascists in Italy weren't as bad. I'm sorry to have to say it. Weren't as bad as the commies in Russia. And that's the weird thing about this guy who started hegemonic studies, whatever. Gramsci. It's hyper hypocrisy. He's complaining about hegemony as exercised by the fascist party in Italy when they were in power. They ended up whacking Gramsci one way or another. Maybe he just died in jail, can't remember. Could hardly care. But all the while, here he was the head, I think, of the Italian Commie Party, working for Stalin. And at that point in time, the biggest. This is before Hitler went really wild and crazy, and before Mussolini never went really, really wild and crazy. Not like Hitler, and not like Stalin. Stalin, at that point in time, was the biggest mass murderer in the history of the world. And so Gramsci goes, it's just awful, boo-hoo-hoo. Yeah. Just amazing. I call it hyper-hypocrisy when you got stuff like that. So put that in your pipes, your peace pipes, or whatever you're smoking. You idiot. Enough of us going around talking in odd tones about hegemony studies, or whatever you call it. I could say you don't interest me in the least. Your studies don't interest me in the least. But the fact that you fooled yourself so badly about totalitarianism, authoritarianism, speaks volumes about how skewed your view of the world is. Anyway, the Swedes had their problems in World War II. They were supplying Germans with some of the best iron ore, I gather, in the whole wide world. They might have been supplying the Ruskies with stuff, but I don't know if they supplied the Ruskies with much while World War II was happening. Anyway, they didn't do the principal thing, which was to stand up to the Nazis. The Norwegians did. And this is one of the stories about their standing up, even after they'd been conquered by the German Nazis. The Norwegians, of course, played a silly game. They refused to let England come in and occupy them, because they're saying, we're neutral. The English were saying, well, the Nazis are going to take you over. And I guess enough Norwegians figured that they wouldn't, so that they didn't let the English in. And stupid stuff. And that's why this heavy water war. So it must have taken a lot of energy, still, to make heavy water. Heavy water, what's it called, deuterium or something like that. It's got an extra, I guess the extra hydrogen, H3 or maybe something like that. And so it's a little bit heavier. It serves as a, I can't call it buffering, I'm glitching on the word right now, but eventually the Allies went for graphite. There were a couple of other things. I think there was something that had to do with spectroscopy. Hard to say. And I've just been having not the greatest day when it comes to dropping things and how you pronouncing things. And another was something I think they called the diffusion process. I don't think that was the same thing as using graph moderator. That's what the term is. Moderator. Or developing nuclear getting nuclear processes going. And so I guess the Norwegians almost had a monopoly in the world. And I guess they must have had a lot of water racing down mountains before they made it into the fjords in Norway. Norway, to a large extent, is just a bunch of fjords and mountains. Anyway, they didn't really let the Nazis take over, but they might as well have. They should have let the English in. It would have been, it's easy to defend if you've got equality in terms of manpower. The English could have set things up so that the Germans would have a very difficult time. In mountains, if you're defending, you got huge advantages. If the English had been able to set up, I think the Nazis might not have had to come in there, and then they wouldn't have to go through this process. They were talking, they were kind of calling down the English, I think, sent in 41 guys to try and sabotage this one place where they're producing heavy water. The reason why they had to take it out was the Germans had their own nuclear bomb program. So did the Russians. People don't realize it. They had it going. It wasn't going very well. I mean, they didn't even have a cyclotron or something like that. Maybe not until near the end of World War II. The Japanese had their own little project going. You didn't know that, did you? Maybe you did. But it's significant. And all I can say is, thank heavens, if there is such a thing as a heaven or a bunch of them, that the Japanese or the Germans didn't develop the bomb first, because it would have been hell on earth. And frankly, thank heavens the Russians didn't. So I'll be dealing with how the Russians got the bomb, and they didn't develop themselves. They'd been behind tons of people, but they had collaborators in the Manhattan Project and also in the English bomb project. They might well have had collaborators in the nuclear program in Canada. Way too many. So I'll be reviewing a book. I've got it in the car. I was going to bring it in to review. I forgot to bring it in. I was a street width away when I realized I didn't have it. I said, it's so hot, I'm not going to go across the street and back again just to pick the book up. So it's supposed to get up to 36. I think it was registering something like tomorrow. 33. Yeah,
but yeah,
well,
it's 30s anyway.
Yeah.
All week.
This is written by a guy called Suda Platov. I think that Sud means judgment or justice. And Platov, I think, is a version of Palat, of palace. So I think it means a justice palace or court of justice or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sweating to the chair.
Okay, so you got up 7 minutes?
Yeah, you're good at estimating these things.
That's about the only thing I've got right today. Aside from the fact that I actually heard you when I was going to that parking spot, and you just said, what was it? Stop, stop, stop.
Yeah.
And I put the brakes on. Someone had gone into parking,
and
they were backing out right back into us.
Yeah.
What idiots.
Yeah, there's been some bad driving today.
Pauline just said to me, don't shake your fist at her, but I was giving her whatever.
I
don't think she realized what's...
Especially when James, he shakes his fist at people. When he's driving, he gets really mad. And because they're
risking my life and my health. If I get in a fender bender enough to...
Especially when he shakes his fist at little old ladies. Please don't do that. I'm like, no.
What are they going to do? Try to run me down? You listen, you try to track me down out in the road, you're going to be following me right to the police parking lot, okay? Then you'll have a little explaining to do, okay? I'll be following this guy around because he was shaking my... And why is he shaking? Oh, because I ran a red light right in front of him. Stuff like that. When you get my fist shaken at you, you richly deserve it.
Okay? Yeah, that's terrible when somebody runs a red light and you have to put on the binders and turn and, you know, avoid.
Happened about a
Them.
block away from here.
Crazy.
Huh?
But there's some crazy driving, you know,
Awful.
like, yeah.
Today was
There's
nuts.
one cab company, I'm going to give them a bad review on the camera at some
Okay.
point. Because I don't know if it's one driver for that cab company or what,
Or all of them.
but all of them, or if maybe there's
time.
only one cab
stable,
in that
yeah.
whole company. I'm not sure. But wow, stunningly bad cab company.
Yeah.
Just a hint,
Yeah.
your cabs are green and white.
Yeah, I know.
Smarten up.
And they've got a certain number on
Boy,
the side.
boy, oh boy.
It might be
One
an
of these
unlucky
days,
number.
the review of your company is coming if you don't
Smarten your drivers
smarten
up.
up. This terrible driving.
It'll be
Very
stupid.
dangerous.
Yeah.
They're going to run over children.
Children.
Bad.
With fatalities all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of fatality,
Heavy water war.
and they're kind of calling down the Brits. Calling down, the Americans called out bombing. Sortie down on this thing. They should have just bombed and bombed. So they dropped, how many? Was it like 900 bombs? I don't know, 200 planes, 900 bombs, 700 bombs, something like that. 900, I think it was. And I don't know how many hits they were counting. 20 or something like that. That was the nature of bombing back then. I would have just called in 1,000, eventually 1,000 plane. Norway's not that far from England. 1,000 plane sortie and just bomb the heck out of it. Eventually they would have wiped it out. Oh, they were saying there was 7 stories of concrete reinforcement going down the basement where they had it. If you hit one story and then the next story and then eventually you dig down far. So, they were kind of, I mean, I guess you got to keep track of the collateral damage or the innocents that get killed. They have one story about a mother and daughter, I guess it is, are on a ferry and they're flying, spoiler alert, you ready? They're transporting they're moving the stuff away, the heavy water, away from Norway to someplace in Germany. They're figuring the southern part of Germany, probably to try and get it away from the possibility of bombing by the Brits or the Americans, probably more like the Americans. And they take it out on a passenger ferry. And the Allies take out the passenger ferry. It's actually a Norwegian sabotage team. And they've got people crying about, I don't know how many people died on the ferry. There were maybe 6 people on the ferry. Yeah, you cry about them. But then you have to keep in mind that these flunkies, Werner Heisenberg, what was his name, Karl Weizsäcker, they were working on something that eventually in the hands of the Allies, the very responsible hands of the Allies, killed maybe 100,000 people with 2 bombs. And with the Nazis, it would have gone on and on and on. You had to get the bomb before them. You had to make sure that they didn't get it. And if you've got half of the 100,000 or something like that, you've got to take that. Like if it involved taking out 50,000 innocent people, you had to do it.